Welcome, Will Linssen. How are you?
Very good. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me today.
Well, we're super excited to have you. Where are you calling in from?
Actually, I'm in Germany at the moment. I just was in Middle East for a little while and then Africa before that, and now in Germany for basically some work.
Wonderful to have you. Are you ready to pour into our listeners?
Yes, let's start out. Yeah.
All right. So, would you share with us your leadership journey and what you're doing now?
Yeah, so I started out as a leader in chemicals, pharma, and plastics late last century. So it's already quite a journey up to now. I was very blessed with great companies and great bosses for most of it and kind of rose through the ranks quite quickly. So I was 27 or something. I was CEO of one of our country organizations. I was literally the youngest guy in the company at the time. And basically kind of earned my stripes in leadership as a country CEO and then later on regional, and then kind of further grew in Asia and Europe and the US, leading a number of organizations. And in 2000s, I did my MBA and IMD in Switzerland. And of course, then you kind of learn even more about leadership. Earlier, I did some executive courses in Colombia and New York. I really kind of got more in touch with companies like HP and Microsoft and GE and the likes, and see the inner works of how they do leadership development, which was super interesting. And then I really thought, I was kind of tired in a way how companies work. And I really enjoyed to invest in leaders and help leaders get better with their teams. Most of my bosses have been doing that with me. I was privileged to work with coaches and also provide coaches for the people in my teams. And I thought, if you're really excited about helping leaders being better with their teams, then you don't need to be in the pharma, plastics, or chemical business for that. We should be in the people business for that. So in 2002, I made that switch into executive coaching and leadership development, dived in head first, and started working in that area. Yeah, my passion is really about return on investment, because coaching is an investment, not a cost. And how do you then create a return of that investment for the leader and for the team and for the organization? So over the years, we developed a whole system around that for people to really understand how you can get better as a leader, how you're being recognized that in the organization for it, because leadership is not about the leader, it's about the people that they're leading. And how can you really kind of measure and move the needle on performance so that people can see this leadership intervention or this leadership coaching really made a shift for the leader, for the team, and for the performance results. So that's what I've been doing now for 25 or so years, because I really started that in my corporate career and then kind of moved that into the coaching business. And very exciting, because we now have a great track record and also great results after coaching more than 100,000 leaders. I've trained about 4,000 coaches around the world in that methodology. So it's a great community of people who are really cranking in their coaching business and helping leaders to get better with their teams. And it's very enjoyable, because it's really a type of business where you can be very passionate about, but also you help leaders who really want to move the needle for themselves as a corporate athlete. And it's a very fun business to be in.
So, tell us about your organization. And I also noticed you wrote a book.
My latest book is Triple Win Leadership Coaching. So Global Coach Group, what we do is leadership and executive coaching. We have a network of 4,000 coaches around the world who are all trained and certified in our methodology, which is ICF, International Coaching Federation, accredited at level 2. So it's a great recognition for our methodology in ICF, which helps a lot. The methodology, Triple Win Leadership Coaching, literally is triple win is better leaders, better teams, and better results. That's why it's a triple win. That means everybody wins. And we have been now doing this more than 100,000 leaders around the world. So we have a great data set also to prove how it works. And we have a 95% success rate. So leaders who go through this process, they have a 95% success rate that they are being seen as getting better by their coworkers, that their teams are getting better as recognized by their coworkers, and that performance results are better as recognized by these same coworkers. So that's the fantastic results that leaders achieve going through this process.
That absolutely says a lot. Now, where can we connect with you?
Our website, globalcoachgroup.com, you can go there. You can send us an email, coach@globalcoachgroup.com. Obviously, my LinkedIn profile, you can go there as well. The easiest way is to also get the book. The book is available everywhere where books are sold. Amazon is a great place to buy that. And on our website, and also buy the book through the various web stores. And the book also has an associated e-learning, which is free, that you also can get access on through the website. So it's a very easy way to kind of dip into that and understand how Triple Win works. And then from there, you can explore further and talk to us, either as a coach or as a leader being coached.
Now, in listening to your journey, I couldn't help but hear that most of your journey has been positive. You've had great leaders lead you, coach you, train you. But I know that I've learned a lot when I haven't been led well, like terrible leaders. And a lot of us have experienced that. What are some things that we can glean when we have someone like that who's leading us? And what are some things that we can do to help ourselves?
Yeah, I mean, I had my fair share of not so great leaders as well, the extremes on both spectrums. And in hindsight, it's a lot easier to understand how you can help yourself well if your leader is not a great leader. So our coaching methodology, which I'll explain probably later a little bit more in detail, but it's very easy to kind of pick two things that your manager is not good at, maybe decision making, maybe execution or empowerment, whatever. And what you can do is select those two things as getting better at it. Say, hey, I want to get better at empowerment because I know my boss is not good at it, or thinking strategically, whatever you choose. And then ask your coworkers, so your direct reports, people in your team, so your peers, and your manager, you ask them for some suggestions. Hey, I'm working on getting better at empowerment. What suggestions do you have? Make an action plan and implement an action plan, and make sure you share it with your manager. And as you do that, your manager will start asking questions, will kind of be curious, will kind of learn from you, and will kind of open up that door, right? So they will melt that iceberg step by step. So, and that's a very easy way to get some better management for you, or at least it's a really reasonable way to try that, and many times it works. At the same time, you need to realize that, and I was coaching a number of people in the Middle East, and if you have real bad managers that you're working with, you can't change them within a couple of years, right? So you also need to make a decision, do I want to put the effort in it to make it easier for me and better for them and better for my team? So that's one piece of advice. And then something that's kind of associated with that I learned very early on in my career is called the bubble of sanity, right? As a leader, you have your bubble of sanity that you are trying to manage. And then you need to make sure that you create sanity within that space. Nowadays, we call it obviously a safe space for your team and for your people to work in. But you as a leader need to defend the borders of that bubble, the borders of that safe space. And that might be because of your manager, that might be because of other people in the organization.
And at the very least, we learn how not to be, right?
Nobody is perfect. And you learn from the good and the bad. We're ourselves are not perfect either, right? So we're kind of almost perfect, but not there yet. Yeah.
Not quite. I love that. And so speaking of change, we know that change is inevitable, but growth is optional, right? We all get to choose that. And sometimes these changes bring some crisis that may shift us. So with that said, what has been the best crisis in your life and why?
Yeah, there were a number of really major turning points. And when I started out, I always was kind of worried about midlife crisis, right? Because everybody talks about that stuff. And
it pops up on you.
Yeah. So I was kind of weary about that. And when I was somewhere in my early 30s, I realized, very high in the organization, you kind of see one or two layers above you to the top group CEO. So you kind of see up and think, that's not really the kind of environment I want to further grow into. And you also can see further horizontally throughout the organization what's going on elsewhere, everywhere. And you feel like, that's also not really exciting. And you have a lot of stuff in your life already, like the house you want and the car you want and the family you want. These are the precursors of midlife crisis in a way, right? So I kind of preempted a lot of that and thought, just make the change, And when I finished my MBA in IMD in Switzerland at that time, and I learned so much from big companies that we did projects with, I thought, this is a great time to just kind of jump. One of my American bosses, he always said, well, when you got to go to hell money, then tell everybody to go to hell and do whatever you want to do, right?
Okay.
So I thought, that's a good time, just kind of do it. Jump on that passion project, do the leadership coaching that you want to do. So that was a kind of maybe a self-manufactured crisis because I didn't want to wait until the boat kind of hits the shore or a big rock. So it's like, just do something else. So that was one. And then as you're building your business, you work with a number of people or partnerships, and some of these things, they go really well, and some of these things, they fall apart. And you just have to work through that, right? And a bend in the road is only the end of the road if you fail to make the turn, right? So we need to be adaptable and flexible. And I just believe also that these kind of tough things in life happen for a reason. So yeah, you grow, right? It's also a matter of facing these challenges head on and thinking, hey, what's beyond that? How can I grow through that? And how I can get better faster. So everybody's life has the necessary challenges, me included. I don't really look back on that as tragedies. Yeah, you just need to face them head on and go through that. Yeah. So I'm also very much of an optimist in a way. Yeah. So.
And so this is where coaching is very valuable too. During those times, right? Where you can have a coach, you can have an inner circle that you can call up during that time. Because I know I'm very independent, but I can't do it alone. Leadership is a responsibility. So we're not just responsible for how we're leading ourselves, but also leading other people. And both are really, really important. So thank you so much for that. Now, as someone committed to continuous learning, what are you learning right now?
I'm very interested to see how AI in leadership is going to manifest itself, right? So I have a technology background. I have a master's degree in information systems management, and I have a master's degree in business administration. And I always have been very interested in the information systems, which have really been driving our life over the last 4 decades with all the internet and e-commerce and all these beautiful things. And I was really at the cradle of a lot of that. I remember in my first company, we had like 20,000 people in the company, and I was the second guy with an email address. Yeah, so AI is going to change a lot of things in our leadership, not just because of AI, but AI is going to power up a lot of things. I mean, here is one example. Traditionally, the leader is an experienced older person who is also a subject matter expert or has been in a certain area and has kind of matured and grown up and is now leading a number of other people. And some of these people might be experts in their own rights, and some of these other people might be just less experienced people. So the leader typically has the upper hand of the knowledge or seniority, right? Now, AI is going to really put that whole thing upside down, because the challenge for the leader now is to say, hey, dear colleague or dear team member, we have this problem that we need to look at. So why don't we first define that problem better? And why don't you talk a little bit with your AI system on this and understand what the facets of that problem are and what is the right prompt and approach to understand that problem. And once we know that, maybe today or tomorrow or whenever you're done with that, then let's sit together, agree on that prompt, and then you run that prompt and you talk to your AI buddy and then come up with a number of solutions that we can discuss. So that basically means that the role of the leader and the expertise of the leader is totally changing because of that, right? So now you're managing people who are smart people in their own right, that's one thing, and smart people who are AI enabled, who can come up with so much better solutions to problems that you as a leader could never think of, really, right? Because you have that limited experience as a person. And that's fascinating, right? So as a leader, your whole philosophy on how you manage people, how you ask people the right questions to get to the right problem statements and the right solutions. So that's totally changing. And that's really fascinating, how that is going to change the role of the leader in so many different ways.
It's a powerful tool. It certainly is expanding us.
Yeah.
I actually love using AI. It's great to have that knowledge, but it's got to be synthesized with our emotional intelligence and how we connect with people. So really important work. All right. So, Will, when you reflect on leadership today, what are your biggest concerns and what gives you the most hope?
The biggest concerns is that if we look at the history of leadership over the last few decades, then we thought that technology is solving a lot of our problems. But actually, what life work revolves around problem solving, right? Every time we're in a meeting with somebody, there's a problem, we need to discuss this and we need to solve it. So leadership revolves around problem solving. And what happened over the last 2-3 decades is that technology just helped us to get to the new problems faster, right? It's not that we have fewer problems to solve, We just have more problems to solve. They're heaped in your inbox every day with all your emails. So we basically get more problems faster. And the challenge moving forward is that AI is going to solve a lot of these simple problems, but now we're going to have more complex problems faster. So basically our workload as a leader or as a professional at work is actually going to become more complex with bigger things on our plate. And with a lot of people already very much under pressure at their work in the first place, that's not going to change. So the funny but not so funny statement I make with a lot of clients is that today is the day with the least pressure and the least workload for yourself moving forward. So that's a big challenge. How are we going to deal with that? Because it's going to be more demanding than ever. And there's no solution in sight for that, right? Because we never had that solution when we went with email and e-commerce and all that kind of stuff. We also just were dealt more cards faster. My hope is that as people learn and educate themselves, we will be able to master a lot of these things better. We also will be able to give a lot more valuable ways of work to people, because there's a lot of jobs that maybe are kind of boring or even dangerous that can be taken over by technology, as we have been doing that in the past with other technologies as well, so that people also have more freedom and fun in their work. And I think a lot of that evidence also has come about over the last 20, 30 years. Work life was a lot more hard and much more harsh. And nowadays, people have a lot more flexibility and freedom in their life in terms of when do you take holidays, and whether you want to work 3 or 4 days a week, and whether you want to work from home or somewhere else, etc. Right? So that will further improve, which should improve also the quality of our work life and presumably then the quality of our life.
I see the complexity increasing. I see the pressure, the stress increasing. But like you said, with no solution in sight, what are some things that we can do to implement self-care? Because self-care is one of the most important things that we can do.
Yeah, so our focus is very much on leadership coaching and leaders working with their teams. Self-care is not really high on that agenda, even though it's very important, right? What I do for myself has a lot to do with setting boundaries, right? You need to basically box in your work times better and compartmentalize other things as well. So if you're kind of with your family, then be with your family and make sure that your telephone is not with your family, right? Kind of creating boundaries in how we do our work. That doesn't mean you work from 9 to 6 or 8 to 5. It also means like, yeah, I work a couple hours here and then I do something else for a couple hours for myself, and then I'm going to be back to work for a couple of hours, right? So it's also that opportunity. And then something I personally do a lot, and my wife and I, we travel a lot. Our kids are already grown up and out of the house. So we travel a lot, and we then basically also enjoy where we are. We work during the day, and in the evening you can do other things, and the weekend you can travel around and explore. So that self-care can also have those type of manifestations that in the past also were not possible.
One of the things that I talk to a lot of leaders about is about grounding themselves, because the truth is our bodies have a limit. If there's more complexity and more pressure, high stress, then we need an outlet. And sometimes some grounding techniques are really important. And sometimes that's just a matter of standing up instead of sitting at your desk and walking around a little bit, moving around a little bit. Those little things, I do yoga, meditation before I start my day, because this kind of work can be depleting because you're giving, especially as a coach. And so self-care is high up on my list. It's one of the things that I embed in my coaching and I talk to my clients about, because they're going to need it. Otherwise, we can burn out. And I don't know about you, but I've felt burnout before, and that's a really hard thing. So I want to kind of shift a little bit here because, I keep looking at that triple win leadership coaching, and I can't wait to get my hands on that book. So what are 2 or 3 things in the book that you can share with us?
Well, I'm happy to talk about the book and how people can use it. Okay. So for leaders to improve themselves as a leader, it is super important to involve your coworkers / your team in that process. Conventional coaching means the leader and the coach work together. Then if after 12 months you ask coworkers, how satisfied are you with the improvement of the leader in decision-making and execution, then only 18% of coworkers are saying, yeah, the leader got better. We're satisfied with the improvement that the leader has made, even though the leaders themselves might be 70+% satisfied with the improvements that they have made. These are some studies from Harvard and a few other organizations that pointed that out in terms of the self-satisfaction of the leader, the 18% that comes out of our research. And if you include coworkers in that process, then after 12 months, it's 95% of coworkers who say that the leader got better and even the team and the results got better. And why is that? Because people are very busy at work and people don't focus on, is my manager getting better, right? People come to work, they come to a meeting, I have problems, we need decisions, we need discussions. So people are very much focused on what they're doing and not really evaluating whether their leader is in an improvement process. And when you involve coworkers in that process, then all of a sudden they start sharing suggestions. When asked, they're going to be involved in action plan making and also implementation. And then people not only get involved, but they also become accountable. The people in the team, they realize, yeah, this whole leadership thing about leadership in general, but also about the execution and decision making that my manager is working on is also about us, because it's very lame if the leader gets better and we don't get better, because then we're kind of missing the point of leadership as well. And by the way, what the leader is doing sounds interesting, and maybe I should try that too with my team and with the people I work with. So people get involved, they become accountable, and now all of a sudden the system starts shifting. So there's a much more focus on the leader and the system that they're a part of rather than just the leader. And that's how you then create change that is visible, but also change that then sticks, because now it becomes part of their culture. And the book explains that in a much more easy sense, how to do it in a structured way.
You're giving your coworkers, the people you're working with, the people that you're leading, a voice. And when you give people a voice, you're adding value to them. And that changes the game. Absolutely.
And let me tell you a little bit how that then changes the game, right? So in the book, we tell people, pick 2 development areas, not more, 2. Way more than 90% of the coaches in our network, and we have an IT system that kind of helps coaches with the implementation of their coaching, so we kind of see what people are working on. So more than 90% of coaches choose 2 development areas. And if you choose 2, then we make a business case with the leader. If you get better at decision making and execution, as an example, what are the benefits that you will get, and for your team and for your business. So that's a triple win. They kind of see how I'm going to win, how the team is going to win, and how the business is going to win. And people realize, wow, that's going to change pretty much everything, right? It's going to change my world, it's going to change their world, and it's going to change the numbers that we're pushing as an organization. So that's great. And then as you involve coworkers, you give them a voice, but also now you start recognizing diversity automatically, because everybody has their own background and their own personality and their own experience and their own education. So everybody has a certain diversity angle in a way. And by asking people suggestions, they're going to provide their angle that they need to be more effective in working with you as a leader. As an example with execution, people might say, well, if you do for a plan that we need to execute, let's make a really detailed plan, because many times when we're executing and it's not detailed enough, then people get confused, timelines are not kept, people are not planned in well with too much or too little capacity, etc. So let's plan well and then we'll execute. And that helps me too, because I'm a very detail-oriented person. And another coworker might say, well, when we execute a plan, just give me the broad headlines. I'll take it from there. I know how to do these things. I don't need a lot of micromanagement here. It's my responsibility. So give it to me, consider it done. And then leaders realize, like, wow, yeah, this is really very customized, because with some people I have to go do it this way and other people I have to do it that way. And then I'm really catering, being very effective as a leader, because I get things done in the way that they need to get it done. And these are very eye-opening to leaders, to get those very customized suggestions as it relates to their specific environment. So that's fun and very insightful. And another interesting aspect is that you can never get that kind of differentiation with AI, because AI cannot give you that customization based on who the people in your team are. It's still a little bit further down the road before AI can get there. So that's interesting. So you give people a voice, but also the leader recognizes that voice and can cater to the diversity that exists across the team, wherever these team people are.
So it requires that leaders be great observers. It requires that leaders value the people in front of them, and that we get to know those we lead. That helps make our leadership more effective. Because if we're connected to the people we lead, and that's priority, you're right, AI can't do that.
Yeah.
And then we know how to light their candle. Then we know how
Yeah.
to encourage them, how to lift them up, how to ignite them. A very, very important skill to have as a leader.
In addition to the observing, it's also just asking, right?
Mhm.
Ask people, have the
Yeah.
conversation, listen to their voice, and be open, right? And part of that is being vulnerable. Because I always tell people leadership is not about the leader. It's actually a very bad word, right? Because in leadership, the leader is in the word, but it's actually leadership is not about the leader. It's really about the people who are being led, right? It's about we, it's not about me. And I tell the people that I'm coaching, it's like, there is a me and we, but leadership is really about we. Yeah? And the more you realize that it's all about them, and the more you involve them, the more vulnerability becomes very natural. It's about them. So let's ask them and let's listen to them. And it doesn't mean you have to do what they tell you, but at least you need to take note of it and take it serious, right? If it's serious for them, then it should be serious for you too. That's the whole definition of being a great leader.
All right. So we have a surprise question for you. You ready?
Right.
So Christine LePerriere wants to know,
What habits are you trying to learn? Her question is, what habits are you trying to unlearn?
The habit I'm trying to learn or improve is I need to spend a lot more time on preparing my discussions with the people that I'm leading, because we have a lot of automated systems that we use in execution of our business. And the better I'm prepared for the discussions with my people, the more they are organized and they can run better, faster on their own. And they do a lot of preparation for themselves as well. But I noticed that if they're well prepared and I'm well prepared, we can discuss their whole business in like 30, 45 minutes, like 50 projects, and everybody can run. And we have great conversations that time because we know what we're doing. So I need to shift to more spending time on preparing meetings rather than spending time in meetings. So that is one thing. And then what I'm trying to unlearn. Yeah, so I'm really good in telling people what I think, right? And providing my ideas or my
Right,
thinking.
right.
And I'm pushing myself so hard to not say that, but ask questions so that we kind of stay on topic and that people come with the challenging answers based on the questions that I'm asking. So rather than saying, I don't think the customer is not going to like that because this, that, and the other, I have to think, and I'm making questions like, okay, so if we really want to make the customer very satisfied and excited about the service that we're doing, what are the quality criteria we need to meet in order to do that well? So step into the customer's shoes and tell me what the answer looks like. Exactly the right answer in a question format rather than me telling people what to do.
And that's the difference between mentoring and coaching. As a coach, they have the answers. We're just pulling it out of them. And asking the right questions is a skill and it is a practice and it definitely is a habit that, yeah, I think a lot of us need to continue to learn to grow
Yeah.
it and
Yeah.
unlearn that telling people what to do, especially as a teacher. I'm an educator, so I was trained to do that.
But also, as we kind of advanced in our career, you have a lot of experience and ideas and you have a lot of answers, right? And the point is, yeah, fight those answers and turn those answers into a question so that it forces people to think and then come with great answers at their end.
Well, I started this podcast partly because I needed to learn to listen more and I needed to learn to ask good questions. So I'm still on that journey, my friend.
There we go.
So as a listener of this podcast, Will, what is a question you'd like to pose to a future leadership guest? Like, what are you curious about?
To me, that would be really about AI and leadership. I think that the question would be as follows. At this moment, more than 50% of the decisions are made by leaders based on their position, authority, experience, etc. So in 5 years from now, how will that percentage have changed with AI being, let's say, well developed in the workplace? The tail of that question would be, and who is then making the rest of the decisions, right? Is that lower level employees who are then taking a bigger chunk out of the decision making?
Fair question. To me, I think AI, even though I ultimately make decisions, AI is a resource that can help up level and give me more information so that I can make better decisions. But it's all about the prompting. It's all about the good prompts that you use, right?
I see now in our work already that a lot of the decisions I made in the past, a lot of people in my teams are now making those decisions because it's like, yeah, if we have the problem right and they think about it and talk with their friend Chad about it, and then they come back and it's like, yeah, this is the solution. And sometimes like, yeah, don't even ask, tell me what you're going to do. Yeah.
It's interesting. The older generation has actually contributed to the AI phenomenon in all the data that we have built up throughout the years. So, yay. Yeah. All right. So, is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience before we wrap up?
Yeah. So, the triple win coaching approach is very easy to start off wherever you are in an organization as a leader. You can do it on your own based on the book as a coach. You can learn this methodology and coach people around it. It's an agile process also, so you can start small and then make it bigger and more impactful. And I really want people to embrace the idea of continuous involvement of your coworkers in leadership and in coaching, because that is how co-creation helps the team get better and helps the leader get better. And moving forward in our organizations, co-creation is going to be more and more of a necessity. Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that is something that I want everybody to embrace and realize that, yeah, that's the future of leadership.
Moving forward. So what is the triple win?
So the triple win is the leader gets better, the team gets better, the results get better. 95% success rate based on 100,000 leaders coached. So it's very well engineered.
Thank you so much, Will, for adding value to me and to our listeners. It's been a great conversation.
Thank you very much for having me.